Hey everybody, pardon the hair. I just got a haircut and jumped in the shower, and I didn't actually like brush it or anything because it's Sunday and I don't want to. I do have a new WTF Cinema coming. I'm working on it. Just things are busy around the holidays. It's hard to find time for everything. Desert Bus just finished. Um, it's been a crazy year, actually, and I'm going to do a wrap-up video at the end of the year so I can just tell you about the year I've had, because it's been amazing, but very busy. But one other thing I wanted to talk about, and the purpose of this video. So, as followers of this channel probably know, I watch a lot of bad movies. I love bad movies. I'm like a kid in a candy store, which is a very apt analogy because bad movies aren't good for you. But I watch a ton of them. And I started to realize, I can watch good movies too. I literally have a degree in film. I'm not going to pull it off the wall, but it's over there. It's in a nice frame. I have a film degree that I don't use because I work in IT and I write books and I review bad movies. Which is not really using my film degree, and I'm not saying that I'm going to start using it for this, but I wanted to balance my cinema karma somewhat, and I tried to, how am I going to find a list of good movies? And I realized such a list does exist, and it is the Criterion Collection. If you may have heard of it, you may not know the details. In general, it's a distribution company who has made it their mission to gather culturally or historically significant films from around the world, in many cases remastering them, but not remaking them, and releasing them, and that's the Criterion Collection. There's a lot of foreign films on the list, but there's also like the 11th film that they added to the collection is This Is Spinal Tap. So, it is not just snooty, highfalutin films, although there's plenty of that as well. So I thought, why don't I do that? Why don't I watch the Criterion Collection? Well, there are well over 1,000 movies in the Criterion Collection right now. That number is only going to go up. I also just realized the ceiling fan is casting a shadow at the top of the video. Sorry about that. The next WTF Cinema I do, I'll try to make sure to turn that off so that's not distracting. But for this impromptu video, you're just going to have to deal with it. I apologize. So I've been working on tracking down the Criterion Collection and watching it. Now, I don't know that necessarily I'm going to make a video for each movie in the Criterion Collection that I watch. I haven't decided exactly what I'm going to do, because I have developed a bad habit of that a lot of content creators have, which is contentifying my hobbies. If I find something that I like, I have to find some way to package it and share it, which feels like a sickness, right? I can't just enjoy anything for me. But on the other hand, I want to landmark this for myself as I work on it. I want to catalog it in some way. I want to, I don't know, I feel like it's something worth documenting in some way, even if it's just for me. I don't know what I'm going to do. But I watched the first one last night, and at least for this first one, I'm going to talk about it. I don't know, I don't have a lot of answers on how I'm going to do this project, because, like, I could do one a week. That's easily achievable. Set aside one day a week for watching movies, or watching a movie. That would take me 20 years, provided they didn't add any more. I'm 42. I'm about to be 42 in less than a month. I would be almost retirement age by the time I finish. Another reason I wanted to do this also is because a lot of them are foreign films. And I have, and I think a lot of people my age and generation have done this, I have destroyed my attention span. I have just obliterated it. Right? Unless I'm watching movies or TV shows with another person or in a movie theater, I am multitasking when I do it, right? I've got two monitors, one of which is pretty much dedicated to TV shows and movies, and then I play around on this monitor Or if I go upstairs where I've got the huge TV, I'll be scrolling through my phone or whatever while the movie's playing. It's not that I'm not paying attention to the movie, it's that I'm not giving it 100% of my attention, because focusing on one thing 100% is not a skill I ever was great at, and I have capitalized on it to the extent that I have really made it hard on myself. And foreign films require your full attention because you can't just listen to it. You don't speak the language. You need to focus and read the subtitles. You can't be like, oh, let me scroll on my phone for a little bit. Oh, I just thought of this thing. Let me remember to do that. Let me just write a note for myself. You got to actually focus and pay attention. So that's another reason I thought I would tackle the Criterion Collection, is to work on rebuilding my focus and attention span. So all of that preamble, let's talk a little bit about the first movie in the Criterion Collection. And if I were a smart man, which I have my moments, I would have prepared this ahead of time so I could make sure to give you some facts. What would probably be great, you're going to have to hear me typing real quick as I pull up the Wikipedia for this, is if I had done a whole bunch of research into the filmmakers and the background and the actors and all of this stuff that I could discuss at length. I did not do that. So I'm still not going to be utilizing my film degree because we're not going to dissect it and talk about mise-en-scène and the diegetic sound and the visual design and all that. I just want to talk about it as somebody who enjoys stories and who enjoys movies. So that's what it's going to be, just an off-the-cuff discussion of the movie I just watched. In this case, it's called The Grand Illusion. It is a French film from 1937, directed by Jean Renoir. Renoir? I promise I'm pronouncing that wrong, and I feel terrible about it. It is, broad strokes, it is set during World War I. The movie came out in 1937. So there is very much a feeling of, let's talk about World War I as the world is getting ready for World War II. Right? That feeling is very much there. And it's largely focused on a small group of French airmen who get shot down by Germans and go to a prisoner of war camp. Right? That's mostly our movie. And it's very interesting to see this little slice of time, because the Germans are very cordial about it, right? The German commander comes in and basically says, oh, I just shot down this French plane. There were 3 airmen in it. One of them died. One of them broke his arm. He's getting it fixed now. Why don't you have the 2 remaining people? They'll come in, they'll join us for dinner, and then we'll ship them off to the prisoner of war camp. And it's a very cordial dinner. He apologizes for the guy that died. One of the German officers offers to cut up the meat of the guy with the broken arm because he can't do it. Everybody's very polite and civilized to a way that points out the almost absurdity of war itself. And that feeling permeates the entire film. They are in a couple of different prisoner of war camps because they get transferred. And there's very much this air of, and there's almost dialogue to this exact effect of, you do realize, as a Frenchman, it is my duty to try to escape. Yes. And you realize, as a German officer here, that if you get outside of the walls, we will have to shoot you, and I am sorry about that. I understand you have to do what you have to do, but I have to do what I have to do. It's duty. Anyway, read any good books lately? Which is, it's almost charming, because you would not see that kind of interaction in any kind of modern war movie. This is not what we were doing in Guantanamo Bay. Are you having a nice day? Do you need more books to read? Okay, well, we'll check in with you next. Give me your word you don't have any contraband. Okay, I take your word. You seem like a good man. The movie also kind of meanders, and I mean it in a good way. It's not locked in. It doesn't limit itself. It shifts. It turns, because you start off with the Frenchmen in their base, very quickly cut to them having been shot down. You don't even see them get shot down. You just you see the aftermath. They go to one prisoner of war camp where, of course, they're digging a tunnel underneath the barracks, and they're emptying out dirt in the garden, which is all very clever and well done. And we've seen versions of it in later movies, right? This is definitely an inspiration for a lot of films. And in fact, if you go and you read about the film, you'll find that this movie is the favorite of a lot of popular big name directors. It makes a lot of top 10 lists for great cinema. Eventually, they get transferred to another prisoner of war camp, one that's impossible to escape. And two of what I would consider the four main characters do eventually escape. And then it's a movie, basically a buddy movie about escaped prisoners on the run trying to make it out of Germany before the Germans catch them, and they find a farmhouse, and there's a woman living alone there, and they end up spending time with the woman and helping her raise her kid, and so on and so on. So the movie kind of shifts its focus multiple times as it goes. It makes it for a very compelling and quick watch, right? It goes by fast. My attention wandered once or twice, and I did reach for the phone a couple of times, but it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be, because the movie does do a very good job of holding your attention. Overall, great movie. Fantastic. Wonderful first start into this project. I do want to talk about a couple of the things that stand out to me that may make it harder to watch. Some of it is the age of the film, right? It's 1937, so cinema has a language that we're used to. Even if you don't know that you speak it, if you watch movies with any kind of regularity, you do speak the language of modern cinema. You understand things are supposed to be a certain way, even if you couldn't sit down and explain why he has to enter from the left in this scene because he exited that way in the you understand it more than you think you do. At least it jumps out to you when it's wrong. But like all languages, that language evolved over time, and when you're talking about different countries, there are going to be differences in style. One of the most jarring things in this movie are the abrupt cuts. There is no fade in and fade out, right? It is very hard cuts, and I was tempted to bring in clips of the movie to show you what I'm talking about, but I wanted this to be more off the cuff and less produced. And plus, every time you put in a clip of a movie, you have to deal with copyright. It's a constant struggle for WTF Cinema. I don't feel like having that fight for this. So, but often there are such hard cuts that you'll think, at first, you almost feel like, ooh, do I have a bad copy of this movie? And it's just like chunks of the movie are missing. No. Oh, I guess this scene's done. No, we're still in the same scene. It just did a really hard cut to a different angle. That's okay, sure. The cuts are abrupt and hard. But you get used to that. There's also not a continuous score like in modern movies. But again, I watch enough older films and I watch enough foreign films that I expect that, and it doesn't jump out to me as much, the silences. Plus, it's not as prevalent here as it is in others. And now we're going to come down to a personal issue of mine when it comes to French cinema. This is personal taste, right? I'm not saying this is wrong. I'm saying what I like. Maybe you love this about French cinema, and that's okay. You're not wrong. I don't think I'm wrong either. This is really subjective. But French cinema has a tendency, not a rule, to end the movie before the story is done. What do I mean? For example, let's say you have a movie, and the entire point of this movie is a shy guy learning to get the confidence and courage to ask out the girl of his dreams that he's never talked to and only seen from afar, right? That's our movie. Mainstream Hollywood rom-com, the movie's going to end where after he goes through whatever hijinks he needs to get the confidence, he asks the girl out. She says yes. Happy ending. Maybe we see their date. Maybe we fast forward to them being married and telling their children about how they met. Whatever. Art house cinema American film might end when she says no to him asking her out, but he walks away with a smile anyway because the point of the movie wasn't to get the girl, but to have the confidence to try. In either case, those are endings, right? We saw what the end was going to be, we worked towards it, we got our ending, conclusion. Great. Whether you like the ending or not, you got an ending. In French cinema, it is common, not always, but it is very common for the film to end earlier than that. It could end when he asks her out, but before she answers. Her back would be to the camera. We wouldn't see if she was happy or sad or angry or bothered. He would ask her out. The movie would end. Or the movie would end as he was about to walk up to ask her out. We wouldn't even see the ask out. He would just be walking in her direction and the film would end. The general idea of these is the viewer finishes the movie in their mind. And I get that. I understand that. I don't like it. And other people with some film knowledge are now going to accuse me of wanting to be spoon-fed, and it's not that. I don't need every detail spoon-fed to me, but I don't feel like a film is a collaborative storytelling exercise. It is fun to dissect a movie, right? And to try and find its meanings and pull apart the different parts. Like, that can be fun. But when it comes to the story itself, I came here for you to tell me a story. If you tell me 9/10 of a story and then say, now what do you think happens next? I feel like you're copping out. You haven't finished your part of this agreement. You haven't finished your job. I want to know the writer's vision of the ending. If I wanted my ending, I don't need to sit through an entire movie. I can make up my own stories all day long. That's not what I'm here for. I came here for you to tell me a story. You didn't tell me a story if you didn't finish it. And if you just said, figure the rest out. I don't like that. This movie's not as egregious about that as a lot of French cinema. But it's still... there's a lot of unanswered questions by the ending. And I expected that. I expect that from French cinema. That's it. I'm trying not to give too terribly much away. It is worth a watch. If black and white French films are your jam, this should be your jam. If a good movie's your jam, this can be your jam. It's very interesting. Just scrolling through the Wikipedia here, Orson Welles named it as one of the 2 movies he would take with him on an ark. Sidney Pollack picked it as one of his 10 favorite films of all time. In 1958, it was the number 5 in the prestigious Brussels 12 list at the World Expo. It's a very well-regarded movie. The cinematography is excellent. I don't know how much set design there was rather than just taking advantage of what was there. But the locations were scouted excellently, well chosen. The actors do a great job. And it's fun because the languages are a little all over the place because you've got French people speaking French and you've got German people speaking German, and some of the Germans speak French and some of the French people speak German, but not always. And occasionally they'll just start speaking English to each other. There's no, do you speak English? Should we speak English as a common language? One of the nationalities will switch over to English for a couple of sentences. Another person from another nationality will answer them in English for a couple of sentences, and then they'll go back to their native languages, it's fun. And the subtitles do a decent job, at least the version I got. There were no subtitles when they were speaking English. And in cases where you had 2 French people and a German woman, and one of the French guys didn't speak German at all, you didn't get subtitles for the German woman, but you got subtitles for the French guy translating her to the other French guy, which is very well done. That's how that should have worked. It really helped us to identify with the guy who didn't speak the language. Anyway, that's it. I think this video's already gone on longer than I intended. Just a little bit about my approach here. The next movie on the list is one I haven't seen either, although I should have. It's The Seventh Samurai. 7 Samurais? The 7... That's embarrassing as a film major. I should really absolutely know the name of this movie. Seven Samurai. Yeah. Famous film that was then redone as The Magnificent Seven and then remade as The Magnificent Seven. There's also, God, there's countless remakes of this one. Battle Beyond the Stars is basically a remake of it. There's an episode of Blackadder in the first season that's basically this movie. But I never saw the original. So I'm looking forward to it. Although 3.5 hour long foreign film, I'm a little out of practice. But yeah, this was a strong start. I'm glad it started on a good film. In theory, they should all be good, right? But not everything is for everyone. So I do expect some of these movies to be a struggle. But I feel like it started strong. So if you would like to go on a Criterion Collection journey with me, great. Go see The Grand Illusion. That's it. Next video you guys see from me will probably be a new WTF Cinema. I will try and get that out before the end of the year. Then a year wrap-up video. I have several WTF Cinemas planned for next year. There will probably be more of these. Again, I don't know that I'm going to do one for every movie. We'll see how the spirit takes me. But thank you for your time and attention. I wish you all the very best. We're all in this together. Have a good one.